Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Friday Africa. Elizabeth, this time it's the show starts now. I had to chuckle. I had to chuckle when we were sitting in the background and watching some of the comments come in. And anyone know what time this starts? I was going to say now. So welcome everybody. Welcome back, Tom. How are you? How is everybody? Happy Tuesday. I think it is a Tom Tuesday.
Yeah, I finally caught on to that. I actually posted that.
Yeah.
Tom Tuesday, it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
So, no,
it's
doing
good to
great.
have you back again.
Yeah. I mean,
And
everything's happening so fast. It's so cool.
yeah, I'm seeing this thing. So, I mean, we've got a lot to talk about tonight or this morning for you.
Tonight's
So,
good.
we'll first start by telling us, well, what's been happening with you this past week. How's your new show coming along?
Good. Everything's good. Yeah. And I wanted to tell you where that came from. The Unconquered is going to be the program. And the reason I call it the Unconquered is because there was this vision I'd had before all this started, the storm started, and it lasted 3 decades. It's like a sword was given and it had a name on the blade, which is in Game of Thrones. Name was on the blade, right? And I now understand that a name on the blade means that you're going to use it for something. It's dedicated to something to be accomplished, done, usually a confrontation. But on the blade, it said unconquerable. So I was like, wow, cool. So also that it was indicative of what, how heavy it was going to be, how heavy the task. So yeah. Anyway, that's why I'm excited to be bringing that
Well,
forward.
I must say, I love the idea of you having your own show. I think that's wonderful.
Well, I want to give something back.
Yeah. Revealing what you're going to be revealing. So what's happening with the Neuralink? Any news on that?
Oh my God. Yeah. Wow. Blown away by all this, because can I defeat him the way it stands right now, how they rigged the system? No. I can't defeat him in a court on Neuralink because they changed the rulings in 2013. And what I realize now is in 2013 was when they were making sure Warner Brothers attorneys had just drilled me in a deposition saying, you don't have Jackson Neck in your piece. You don't have Jackson Neck. They were working with Elon Musk at that time, putting him in place to take the work. And so what happens is from 1999, and what happens is they then changed the law in 2013, right after my deposition, when I proved that I had Jackson Neck all through it and that I had Neuralink all through it. What they did was they changed the rule at the trademark office, and they changed the law that it's no longer about who creates it first. It's about who makes a claim first. And even Aiden had a discussion with me like, Dad, you can't be, you won't be able to stop Elon Musk with this now. You won't be able to because they changed the law. I'm like, you're right. But since I am the creator of it, which can't be denied with the copyright and published and everything, they were arguing too that you didn't publish it. Tom, you didn't publish it. Yeah, I did. As soon as I had it mailed through attorneys across the states to Warner Brothers by their request, it's published. So what happens is, it's published. Yeah, we prove it first. Now, here's the fun part. Here's the good part. Just as they changed the law, so it's not the creator first, it could go back to the more logical setup anytime where they change the law back to whoever created it first. That goes back to, yes, when the law was set that whoever created it first, I had created it first. Then they changed the law after I had created it first under that law.
Yeah.
So when it's switched back, which it will happen in the future, when it's switched back to who creates it first, we will have Elon Musk over the barrel and we'll be able to make a difference. That's the good side of it. The laws can change back and forth. Does that make sense?
Well, let's pray for that, because honestly, I mean, it's, I always say with these things, and how I feel about it. I mean, I think that when this type of power gets put in someone's hands and they don't have the good of humanity, or the intention is not honorable, we're going to have problems.
Especially when they've been put there as a failure. I don't think a lot of people realize that, the Wachowskis failed at everything they did. Their mom said that. They said it in interviews. We failed at everything we did. Contracts, schooling, dropped out, everything. And then they were brought in-house, wined and dined, promised beautiful women, which is sad. Fame, fortune, for what? They failed at everything. but they needed them in-house at Warner Brothers to be claimants to keep the work in-house, right, when they steal it. Same thing with Elon Musk. Sophia Stewart, who claims to be the mother matrix, she failed at everything she did out of the projects. And then she's brought in to do the same thing. So my brother, the same thing, brought in by Disney. He failed at everything. He said that he was getting no work at all. And Disney hired him for low echelon jobs at the Sheraton and Disney World. That's what they do. They bring you in-house. And his job was to take my work. If something happened to me, he would then claim that he actually created it, not his brother. And Disney would say, we didn't steal it. We simply gave it back to the real brother. Interesting? Well, they're working for him in-house. Now we know that George R.R. Martin, when he wrote the Game of Thrones, was working in-house as an employee for Warner Brothers and HBO. Incredible. That's why they stuck all the stuff in there. So more and more, the plastic's coming off the veneer. And we're seeing actually the real wood of what's going on. And same with Elon Musk, groomed, failed. In fact, I had a contact telling me that he was going bankrupt, lost everything. They bailed him out miraculously and brought him in.
Yeah.
Elon Musk also.
I heard that.
Yeah.
I heard that.
Failure.
A while ago, though. That must have been a couple of years ago, right?
Yep. And so they bring in failures. So you have loyalty from guys in-house that their whole thing was made by them, Warner Brothers and HBO and the agencies and Disney. And they say this phrase, which Elon needs to be aware of. It says, I have a cough drop I'm using right now. But they say, if we make you, we can break you. And they say it in their films too. So Elon, Sophia Stewart, Wachowskis, George R.R. Martin, all you guys, that's what they say. Your heads are always on the block. And the real geniuses behind the work, and I'll say geniuses, I'm tired of them rocking. So tested that way. Yeah, I'm one of the all you guys. So let's just claim it. We're smart. We're made that way. We're designed that way for a purpose. And we're not going to give up because we are. So it's the morons against the geniuses. And they'll call that bullying and harassment, but really what it is.
Moron alert.
Yeah.
We've got to start a hashtag moron alert.
Yeah. And then when you see their bosses, like I said, Kate Chilton, dropping this name, that again, that is the main player with the agencies, with Disney, with Warner Brothers. And you look at her track record, this lady who was put in place, the woman behind the curtain, not the man behind the curtain. They hired this woman who had failed at everything she did. She was an associate for 8 years. That's a long time just to stay as an associate. She never moved up in the law world. Then suddenly she's head of Warner Brothers litigation, vice president and lead. Went 93 when I submitted. Then she becomes head of Netflix litigation, content control. When the case is thrown and Warner Brothers and Joel Silver and the Wachowskis are laundering through Netflix. Then she becomes Superior Court judge, where they get this. They actually decided that they were having elections. You're supposed to be elected to position. They canceled the elections and just put her in because they didn't want a chance. They wanted a straw man thing where they got her in. And so she was there to cover up any legal actions to make sure that Warner Brothers and Elon Musk could get away with the tech and everything else. So Elon Musk lost his main shield. Chilton's running. She resigned when she's supposed to be in place till 2029. She resigned immediately once we showed the Sophia Stewart payoff letter from Kate Chilton to Sophia Stewart covering the year 2009-2014 involving me. As soon as that was revealed on the air, Sophia Stewart struck it from her sight and Kate Chilton resigned. Talk about showing guilty faces. That's Elon Musk's cover. So Elon Musk is going to crumble very soon, I think. You're going to see him start to fall. And I wouldn't be surprised if he passed the baton, not really wanting to. He'd be raging behind the scenes. These guys are very arrogant. All these different, if you look at Sophia Stewart, Wachowskis, Elon Musk, very arrogant. Sophia Stewart's company called All Eyes on Me, very narcissistic. So when the media would say that he's passing the baton to somebody else, they would actually not be showing what he's doing behind in the boardrooms, which is basically throwing stuff around.
But my concern around that is that even though Elon may crumble, let's say he does crumble, right? Mm-hmm. We know by now that even though he is a hierarchy kid and obviously was groomed from a young age for this position, but we also know he's a puppet for the system.
Yes. Yeah.
So if he crumbles, and I mean, I did hear those rumblings a couple of years back. In fact, wasn't it when he bought Twitter that apparently he was bankrupt and apparently Bill Gates or something
Yeah,
paid for Twitter. I don't know. That was the rumor.
that's so
Gave
funny.
him money,
Yeah,
bailed him out
yeah.
or something.
Probably was one of the cases because it's funny because Bill Gates is one of the puppets too. And these are all failed people. Bill Gates failed at schooling and everything else. It's like they all are failures. And it's interesting because I was one of the groomed guys. It's funny that you replace groomed guys with groomed guys, right? So I was groomed to lead in the cabal. Elon Musk is groomed and brought in to replace me. Bill Gates is groomed. And the only problem was I didn't fail. They were doing a system where some of us were being brought in. Jesse would know about this probably, where we're being brought in as high level, high tier bloodline kids. And so that's what I was. I was considered successful. Even David Rockefeller told me when I was working for the Rockefellers group at Colonial Williamsburg and being offered the directorship, they said, you are beyond our standards. You are beyond us able to keep you. Imagine David Rockefeller telling you that they can't keep you. Or the Rockefellers, they can't keep you because you're too good. See, they had different tiers. And so Elon Musk was the low tier being brought in to replace a high tier. He's not going to be able to fit the skin. He's not going to be able to do it. He can't handle the inventions that I was coming up with that I believe God channeled through. He can't handle it. He can't explain it. Just like the Wachowskis couldn't explain the work. They're saying fans are getting it right.
But there again, with this sort of stuff, with all the AI and technology and these mind control devices and chips and things that they have, wouldn't it really be whether he himself has the brain power to come up with these ideas? He could still be the front guy or somebody else be the front guy, because from what I'm seeing, and it's like if somebody crumbles, they've got someone else that steps in, maybe not in that particular position, but in another kind of realm that will still cover that, right? So for me, there's so much of this type of technology we have no idea about. So even if Elon himself can't come up with that, doesn't have the mental capacity to come up with your brilliant ideas or even close, could it not be possible that some deviant in the background would be coming up with those ideas and kind of channeling through, with these ideas through to him? This is my question, because there's so much available stuff that these guys have access to. It's off-worldly stuff. It's not even anywhere from here.
Here's the beauty of it, Shanti. They cannot channel it unless they have the right heart. Think of that.
Yeah, okay.
The only way it channels is if you go through the discipline program that I went through and others like me, where you're trained. And that discipline program includes keeping the mind from any dark thoughts, making sure that everything's stuck back in the back layers of a reference, that there isn't anything inputted that's dark, selfish, that it's all about compassion, humility, faithfully serving all life and translating what you're given as it flows through. So that says something about our creator and creators, that we are to be this in order to channel. That should give hope and inspire. And that's what I've been telling Disney and others, that you're right, they have a team behind them. Elon has a team behind him, just like Edison did. And what happens is that's how they try to get by. But it's like bleeding off the bear. You can't get a good product from wounded people. But if you are free range and you are actually disciplined and taught what I've been taught and others like me, that's the only way you're going to get the flow of the ideas. That's the only way you're going to get the creativity. And that's why I'm one of the few that actually understands this product and both the bad and the good.
So what you're in essence saying then is that this product, even if it might be in nefarious hands right now, actually has a limited lifespan. So they'll only be able to do so much with it, because with the right intention, they can't actually achieve more without the right intention. Is that what you say? Am I understanding that correctly?
That's part of it. What we also have is there's a main goal beyond Neuralink and this whole pitiful one world order plan agenda. Because really what we're supposed to be doing, what I was given, is we're supposed to open the portal to the good, to the benevolent. They keep saying that it's bad, there's evil. Yeah, there could be portals to evil. But what we're looking at is back to the source of our flow of all this benevolence, what we're given. And I've seen that. I've seen what they look like. I've seen the face. And it's like, So what we have is, when that happens, everything's obsolete. Everything else is obsolete. Their one world order agenda looks like people that had Tinker Toys, kids that had Tinker Toys in their playroom. It is nothing compared to what's coming. They lost. And that's why they want to play God. They want to shut the door on this. They want to shut the door on this project. So our focus should be on opening what we were given in the vision, which is the portal to our creator. Yeah. Which is just, wow. You know, when you think about that, that's the goal. And they try to sidetrack us from that. So everything else becomes minuscule compared to that, because with that comes healing, longevity, if you want it, creation, ideas, benevolence, peace, everything. They've already solved that problem. And that's why all the kids' films are inundated with the idea of, you know, portal bad, portal bad, portal bad, portal bad, Transformers, portal bad, Night Museum, portal bad, bird creatures will come through, evil will come through, darkness will come through, robots will come through. They're trying to scare the kids from the future generations of making this happen. See how they're focusing on the kids with that? Because that's a generation that's going to make it happen. That's a generation that'll make it happen. Yeah.
That's interesting what you just said there, actually. It's like, as you say, that programming of the kids' minds to make it think that all of this is bad, and it's not.
It's like, scary to go outside, scary to go outside, scary to go outside, stay inside where you're safe. Think of Tangled with the lady saying, Disney put it there, ladies telling the blonde girl, you know, don't go outside, it's evil out, don't go outside, I told you not to go outside, stay safe with me. That's exactly what's going on. They're trying to get our kids to do the very same thing. Don't go outside, go outside, go outside, go outside. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, I always maintain whatever they tell you, do the opposite of.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yes. And you know what? They're noticing that we're actually happier than they are, even though they put us through everything we can possibly go through. And yes, I had those terrible losses. And yes, dear blood spilled. And I'm dedicating my work to them. But I am still happy. And they'll go like, how dare you be happy? Sophia Stewart throws that card. The Mother Matrix she claims to be, she throws that card all the time. They don't want us happy. But our natures are to be happy and to celebrate and celebrate each other, because we're not narcissists, we're the empaths. And that's the really dividing line. Empathic people have empathy against those that are narcissists. And they're the super empaths and narcissists are the biggest chasm you can get as far as a human dynamic and division. So that's really is it.
Absolutely.
Narcissists hate empaths because they see right through them. And they don't want to, narcissists want to keep that mask up, like my sister. They want to keep that mask up. And that's why I say, Shanti, a test that people can use is the eyes. Look at the eyes and see if you see layers. And you know what the narcissists use on us, empaths, all of us here? They'll say, oh, he looks crazy, or you look crazy, or you're delusional. No, our eyes simply have feelings and layers that they don't have. And they're afraid of that. Yeah. You know, kids see it. Animals see it. They go like, you know, they feel drawn to us. Kids will come up to the supermarket, try to take my hand, because they see that there's a lot of genuineness there. And for them, what you see is just this blank look. Look at Elon Musk's eyes. Look at Sophia Stewart's eyes. Look at the Wachowski's eyes. Look at go right down the line. Kate Chilton, who put that picture up, the only one she has on the net as she tries to disappear. The eyes are empty because they're trying not to show. Psychologically, they don't want to show what's actually going on in there, which is funny because the Neuralink will reveal all that. So,
well, the eyes really are the windows to the soul, aren't they? So, you know, when we have that blank kind of expression looking back at us, that really is an indication of something weird going on. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
I just realized something too, Shanti. The reason I was given the name Unconquerable, which I believe I was given, is because that's exactly the truth. They couldn't break us. After everything they threw at us that they couldn't handle. They usually throw what they can't handle. Oh my God, you know, what they can throw, most desperate thing they can throw, which they couldn't handle, didn't conquer us, didn't beat us. We still are laughing and happy, like the Grinch that stole Christmas on the mountain, looking down at the Who's, singing. We're still happy. We're still joyful. We know good things are coming because of our very nature of who we are. They believe everything is going to be dark, the other side, because they're dark inside. And they want to believe that we're all dark. And they've been going down a trail to make everybody else believe they're dark, including kids. What a terrible way to live. I would hate to be myself if that was me. Yet they accuse us of being them. You know, they even accuse in courts of having dirty hands. We're not like you guys out there that are the other side. We're not like you at all. And the first thing they're going to throw, and a guy just did it recently, is delusional. The card is so overused. I just laugh when I hear that now, because it's like, delusional is what the attorney was supplied throws. Delusional is what the sister throws under the congressman who's FBI. Delusional is what this guy threw just recently, because they feel good with that word. They feel like, oh, wow, we threw that card at you. Delusional. It's like, that's the best they can do. It's like that Knight's Tale or whatever it was, where the guy comes up and goes, your mama. And he goes, mother jokes went out a long time ago. They're out. They're dead. They're gone. And he goes, like, last thing he says is, your mama. Because that's all they have. It's like delusional. That's all they got. It's like, well, geniuses aren't delusional. I understand when you are a narcissist out there that you don't understand how geniuses work. I get it. Genius with empathy. You don't understand, so you throw delusional in your simplistic way. So I'm throwing understanding to the narcissist that's all they can come up with. And they feel proud when they say it. Watch their face when they say it. If they're contacting you personally, they'll go like this. They'll go, you're delusional. They feel so good about themselves. Like they just scored a real big point. Your mama. Your mama.
But it's, it's, you talk about that, and it kind of gets me thinking as well about a lot of the other topics we address as well on the channel, which is mental health, And isn't it interesting that so often when kids have been in the system, and obviously now adults, they've been through a whole lot of trauma, SRA, whatever it is that they've been through, they would often use the abuser or the handler or the controller, whatever it might be in their life, will often use those types of narratives and throw it back at them, right? So as you're saying, everything that you've been trained to be, and I would imagine as well, when people have been trained quite heavily, they've been blackmailed. They've often been filmed doing horrible things, oftentimes against their will, right? And that has a lot of connotations, I guess. So that type of stuff is thrown back in their face a lot. So they're blackmailed with that, really. So again, it's another way of trying to keep them in fear, controlled, contained, right? So
Absolutely.
that mental health label is a big one that is used in the system, that sort of thing. And it's very important that we can actually look at that and recognize it for what it is as well. So when people are being accused of being delusional, or I don't know, what is it, psychotic, or whatever it is, whatever labels people place on others. It's actually very interesting.
And look at that. What you just hit upon was that now they use child services, psych field. So when you are set upon with their delusional call, like they get a family member to bought off, like my sister and brother, and all they have to say is, oh, Tom calls me all the time and says da da da. And I don't call. If they check the phone records, they won't. But if you check phone records, I'm not calling these people. I don't want them in my life. I moved 1,000 miles away from these people. So why would I be even engaging with them? But they'll make the claim for that, congressman, FBI guy. And suddenly the SWAT team show up. Well, the SWAT team now show up with psych services and child services. So now they're throwing the full gamut, prepared to strip you of your life in a matter of seconds. While their police force is told to put on record, and we have the records now. Wait till you see what we have later. They say that, the target is aggressive. Really? So I'm aggressive? I'm making dinner for my mom, dad, and my son at the house, and it's nighttime. He's getting ready for school next day. I'm being a good father. And child services had been out and said how great, model family, wish you're more like you. Didn't realize that we were actually trying to build a case, while saying that to us. But here comes these people claiming, police ahead of time saying he's aggressive. Now, Aiden showed me these police shows. And when they say you're aggressive, they come armed to kill. The police aren't going to take a chance, right? SWAT team, full body armor, body cameras, automatic weapons, decked out completely, staked out on the street. And that's part of the shaming process the agencies use. It's their thumbprint. Where your neighbors all see this going on. What are your neighbors going to think, right? Suddenly you lost all your relations with your neighbors because they're thinking in their minds as they peek through the curtains with their little cell phones ready to record the blood and death. that slaughter, that, you know, oh my God, this must be a real bad person. They get excited, titillated by it, and you lost all relations in your neighborhood. It served a purpose.
Yeah.
So they're all staked out in different places. And one neighbor told me that he was told, you better get inside. You don't want to see this. What does that mean, Shanti? That means bloodshed. That
I was
means
about to
slaughter.
ask, what does that actually mean? What
Yes,
don't you want to see?
someone's gonna get killed. You're gonna see somebody killed. So they put in the report ahead of time, this Tom Althouse is aggressive. With what? What did I do? Nothing. I was scheduled to do interviews. I'm revealing a congressman. I'm speaking the truth. And so just think of it. They can do that to anybody. That's my concern. If I have a stellar record, no criminal record, completely clear, don't even drink. You know, it's like, don't smoke, don't do drugs. You know, what do you want in this country? You know, believer, it's like, you know, loves his kid. And you're going to send the SWAT team with child services, and you're telling neighbors you don't want to see this, you better get inside, and that he's aggressive. What? And then the sister gets away with saying he's waving a gun around. They're ready to take you out and shoot you. So when they came to my mom remembered them piled up at the window in the one case, right? And keep in mind, my sister was given that floor of Congress announcements later, you know, like on the floor of Congress the next day, and helicopters circled our home for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
From the SWAT team because they didn't get their way. And so you got this going on where they're piling at the window. My mom remembers them piling at the window, their automatic weapons at the window. I'm like, holy crap. If you watch these different programs, you've seen where people are taken out. Gas canisters and just pop, 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 pop. You don't see them being taken down, but you show the body later. And that's exactly what this was set up to be. I was to be a dead man. So when they came to the door, they're like banging on the door, right? And they just opened the door. They opened the door, and I see them peeking in. And the guy goes like this. He sees me there with my mom, right? And there's Aid in the background. And they go, can we come in? I said, no, I'll meet you on the porch. It was the best thing I could say because I met them on the porch. So far, the show's over now because what? You can't take me out in my house. You can't shoot me in my house. I'm on the porch. And there's a lot of neighbors peeking with their cell phones showing, right? They're all looking out their windows. So you have me right there, non-threatening, right? Now they got body cameras on. All this is recording with body cameras. The FBI had told me that body cameras is my property. I'm allowed to see the footage. They refused. Chief of police refused. Chief of police refused. Every time I asked, they refused. They didn't want to show that camera footage because they wanted to be able to say that, oh, he was aggressive, that he was, you know, that kind of thing. It's amazing how our rights are denied in this country. That's why I was trying to get out of this country, you know, to get Aiden to safety. But now I have an arrangement where he will be safe. But think of that. Think of if a loved one of yours who's been a sweet person, say Morné, a great guy, Morné. They suddenly say Morné is aggressive and that he's dangerous and waving, and his relative says he's waving a gun around, right? And then the sister will say things like, you know, oh, he calls me all the time, really? And he says he's going to shoot his son and himself, and that he's dangerous and crazy and suicidal. No, I've never said that. How many umpteen programs have I done? Hundreds, and I've never said that, have I? Wouldn't I say it on the air if I was that? I'm not. I never will be. I love life. My sister doesn't, but I do. But that's what they use. And so poor Morné has SWAT teams show up with his neighbors being told, you know, all strategic shooting positions, being told, you better get in. You don't want to see this. Morné is this dangerous criminal. He's aggressive. And then they come piling to his home where he's taking care of his mother. It's insane what's being done in this country. And then they haul you off. Now, there's a film done by Angelina Jolie called The Changeling. And that illustrates this very thing. So if you get a chance, watch The Changeling and watch what they do with the psych field and the police is in there. It's all in there. So Hollywood put it there to show you what happens when they actually take your son and kill your son too. A tough movie to watch. But that's what happened to me with the psych area, where they lock you away for the criminally insane when you've done nothing wrong. And so look at me right now speaking. Would you believe the other side that I was, let's see, we want the list that they came up with after they changed it all around? Bipolar 1 and 2, sister says. Do I look like I'm bipolar 1 and 2? Paranoid schizophrenic, or schizophrenic with paranoid tendencies. Narcissist, suicidal, PTSD, fine. God, what are the other ones? Histrionic disorder. God, how can you be all these things and still carry on a conversation? If you look at the DM, whatever it is.
Exactly, I was going to say, you should be a wreck. You would be a wreck, and not really But this is what happens. But as you're speaking there, and I was kind of living into the situation when you were saying, let's say Morné got arrested, and I got a phone call saying, "Oh my God, Shanti, Morné's lost the plot. He's got a gun. He's waving it around." Now, as a human being, of course, that is so out of character. But my first reaction would actually be, "Oh my God, what's gone on?" So I would, or even if you love the person and you know them well, one still has the tendency to think anything can happen, right? Until you've kind of maybe been in the situation for half an hour or an hour and you can actually see the crap that's going on. But that kind of knee-jerk reaction from anyone is concerning, to say the least. I mean, anyone to get a conversation or a phone call to say so-and-so has lost the plot, right? And these guys are such masterful manipulators that they can get anyone believing what they want them to believe. And if you're just a little bit gullible, you're going to suck that in like a bag of oranges. Right. You are. So it takes people, and it's very good that this stuff is being revealed, and more, obviously, of the whistleblowers who come forward talk about these types of things.
Right.
And it's very good to know that these are the kind of scare tactics that are used, and then more people are aware that. So the next time we get a call that so-and-so is psychotic or has lost the plot or is hosting demons or whatever the hell it is, and about to kill me or whatever it is, sure, we have to take notice of that because that is possible on every account. But we just have to take everything with a pinch of salt.
Absolutely. Really, you know what's funny too? You just made me think of it. If you look at the other side that's making the accusations, all right, let me illustrate my sister making it's on tape. Let me illustrate my sister and her accusation. You ready for this? This is me acting, putting on the acting hat. But here's what she sounds like. "Oh my God, he's so crazy. He's gonna kill me. He's gonna shoot me. Oh my God, I know he's not." Anyway, we have to do something about it. We have to do something about it, Mom. You understand that he's just that way. But he's gonna kill me. That's how she talks. I mean, that's psychotic. That's like, what is it? Mania? Manic? I mean, that's what she sounds like. That's what she sounds like. And it's like, it's hard for me to even give it justice to do it actually right. But that's the person accusing you. And you're with the police going like, "I'm sorry, why are you here?" And then they write in the report, "He didn't even know why we came." That's their accusation? "Yeah, I don't know why you came. I was making dinner for my family and I was about to put my son to bed, but I don't know why you came. Why'd you come?" "Oh, he doesn't know why we came." As if that's diluted.
Yeah.
And the other thing too is they put you away so nobody can see you or interact with you. See, that's part of this 302 thing. The 302 device and tactic by the agencies needs to be neutered. It needs to be removed. To make this country safe again, we've got to get rid of this Stalinistic Hitler tactic, which is born from that period. Stalin did the same thing in Russia, did the same thing. If you're an intellect or someone who's a philosopher or a thinker that might influence people to be away from your state agenda, you're hauled off with this 302. And what happened is, it's scary, this country actually perfected it. I'm told by attorneys, they perfected it. So now without procedure, you can be hauled off anytime and put away for the criminally insane, and they'll make up anything. They'll say anything. In fact, the attorneys for Warner Brothers actually claimed they wrote an email to one of their own in-house, their own office. They wrote an email to their own office saying, "Furthering our discussion, Tom Althouse came up to me and threatened me that he said, quote, he was going to kill me, ... really bad," end quote. Like, what? When? Where? And they enter this as evidence why my case should be thrown. I'm like, when did this happen? What? And they sent a courier to deliver it. An email to their own. Talk about fabricating and creating evidence. But they were trying to create that narrative of dangerous guy so they can then take me out. The thing is, now they're on the run. And you're going to watch Fitzpatrick now that Ukraine's being revealed. He was the main player, along with Justin Trudeau's boy, Baxter, to disrupt, get rid of Viktor Shokin, and Attorney General, basically, in Ukraine, so they could take it over and have it as a puppet state by the Pentagon. Now it's all coming out, right? about biolabs, everything
Yeah.
else. So what we've been talking about, and we've got the cover article of Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, lifelong FBI, talking about it, saying he did it with Biden, saying he did it, that the agency did it. So that's being covered over even by Sky News in Australia. They're trying to cover it up. They play this game with the liberals, where the liberal faction and the conservative new faction are doing this banter back and forth as if they're against each other, but they're actually both sides, conservative, liberal, covering the actual truth. They're covering it up. Isn't that amazing? They're playing it on both sides. So people are left with, well, who do we listen to? Listen to Chantelle's program. Listen to people that are off the mainstream that are actually telling you what people want
It's
covered
the
up.
two birds of the wing, right?
Yes,
Two wings
yes,
of the, I mean, not two birds of the
yes.
wing, two wings of the bird. It's the same bird with two wings.
Yes, and then they want us to fight over it. They want us to fight over those wings. They want us to be like, well, I'm on this side. Are you on this side? Or you got to pick a side. No, we're not picking the whole bird. We're going to be outside the whole show and game. So that's why I advise people, get off this idea of conservative and liberal. Both are playing you. Both sides are playing you. In fact, it was the Magna group that ambushed me recently. It was the Magna group that was doing the documentary for a long time. The Q group that I believed in that turned on me in the end and covered for Chilton and Sophia Stewart. Isn't that something? So they're the ones that suddenly used up all the time and cut me off like Rankin did. So now I have a new group again, which I'm very pleased with. But they're not liberal or conservative. That was the game they played. It was a net. They caught you both ways. Like you said, the wings of the same bird. So the best thing I can advise people to do is don't be a liberal. Don't be a conservative. Get out of the game because they're playing you from both sides. Both sides.
Yeah. I would definitely agree with that. You know, and again, it just brings me to what I always say is that the only way, you know, we've got to go within. We've got to connect with God. We have to understand our own true power and our own true discernment. And together, and it's true what Betsy is saying, I was about to say, you know, you find that freedom. You free then. You know, freedom is not a form of anarchy where you're running around burning buildings and destroying things and nailing everything just because you can now, because you've been in prison for so long. Right. Whether it's a metaphoric prison or a real one, doesn't matter. But it's a place you reach within yourself, you know, where you realize you can't actually be bullshitted anymore. You smell the truth. And those are the people that resurrect the consciousness. We're talking about the resurrection of Christ, right? Mm-hmm. We resurrect the Christ consciousness within all of us that already exists. We are all blessed with that. All we have to do is realize that. And yes, through whether it's religion or spirituality, if those are the tools that give rise to that, if those are the tools that activate that within you, fantastic. But we really have got to stop looking outside of ourselves for solutions. Mm-hmm. The solutions are all within. Mm-hmm. When we are in that strong spiritual place where we can discern that, we are not afraid of these creatures of the night, you know, because the more we reclaim our power, the less powerful the negative energy is, or the dark forces, or whatever you want to call them. We really just have to realize who we are, and we are absolutely amazing. We're unique. And yes, we are. And we have the ability. We're all here for a reason, you know. We didn't come here by accident. We're here for a reason.
Observe. Yeah, I would tell people, observe the actions of others, not what they say. Not what they say. It's like when I was taught sword fighting for stage and everything, and different weapons and swords for stage wars, you know, stage fighting. And in it, you learn about, you don't watch the eyes, you watch the movement, or you watch the eyes, you watch where their eyes are going, and that'll give you a clue on what, you know, where they're going to. And it's like, watch the actions of an empathetic person. And if they have empathy, they will behave in that way. We can't help it, can we? We will have empathy. We can't help it. So I was swimming the other day doing laps. If anybody observed me, I was doing laps in the pool, and I saw a bee that was drowning. Now, this may sound funny, but for somebody with empathy, we can't help it. We can't help it. Yeah, I got the container. I got out of the pool, got the container, and I didn't care if anybody thought it was funny, but I was like, put it in the bushes. I saved a bee because we can't stand the thought of something suffering. Yet that's what the other side claims is a narcissist. Like I said with Sophia Stewart's, All Eyes on Me Incorporated company, all eyes on her. So it's like, realize narcissists will always call the empathetic person a narcissist because they feel threatened by those that might reveal their mask of trying to feel superior. A narcissist has to feel superior. Otherwise, they're broken. My sister has to feel superior. That's why they give her all the rewards, right? And they say that when a narcissist faces death, you don't want to be around them if you're an empathetic person because they'll try to use you and accuse you and attack you. They say doctors and nurses have the worst time with true narcissists, right? Because when they're facing death, they've lost that feeling where they are superior. Suddenly they're faced with it. And they say that, like I said, the narcissists, they say the main comment they'll say when they're facing death is they never knew who they were because they were always trying to keep that mask up. They're always trying to keep that idea they're superior. And that's what I noticed, like even with my sister, when she showed up at an event when I was still in the circle, she would stop everything going on, sit center, and talk about herself and talk about herself and talk about herself. The whole celebration stopped. And it was all about her the whole time, but she didn't have the faculties to realize that we wanted to share with each other, and she's not letting us. It was like having a throne. And that's how a narcissist behaves. It's all about them trying to prove they're superior. And the rest of us, we don't count. We're pawns on a board. And then as soon as she left, the party resumed. But they're going away thinking, in her case, probably, oh, I sure impressed them. They sure thought I was amazing. I sure told them I got everything I wanted to say. No one's as good as me. The rest of us are like, thank God she left. Now we can actually communicate with each other because we're being too polite to say anything, But a narcissist has clueless. They're clueless. They're clueless that they are really not interesting. And they need their flying monkey supply, they call it, where the people that actually will do their bidding to do harm. That's why these organizations are narcissistic organizations. They use that very model where they employ minions or handlers to go out and do harm on their behalf. It fits the narcissistic model. My sister does the same thing with family. So once we understand the model,
if we think about what a narcissist is, and what creates that kind of disorder, if you will, it's really someone who's not experienced love. It's someone who's come from a place of lack of love. So that is why when I believe, I've no doubt about this actually, with SRA, that's the first thing that they do, is that they will create pain, they will torture, they will abuse, they will hurt, they will abandon, reject. I mean, some of the stories I've heard from survivors is quite on another level. The level of torture, I mean, a lot of these high-level kids, especially if the kids are being bred, for example, like the designer babies or the spliced babies, they will, the minute the mother is pregnant, they start torturing the mother in horrific ways, so that immediately, even while the fetus is still in the womb, all it knows is pain. So that is where the narcissist energy comes from. And obviously in varying degrees to varying levels. I mean, of course, they can become psychopathic and all sorts of horrible things as well, worse than that. But if we understand that any of these sorts of things are coming from a lack of love and understanding that these guys have not known love. They are assets. They are objects. They are used. Everything is a transaction. There's nothing that is given freely and just because I want to. There's always a price. There's a trade, right? So the minute there's a trade of everything like that, where there's a price involved, that's where we have the problem. So it really is about understanding we are always narcissistic towards ourselves. I want to say this because as long as there are narcissists out there, it's a reflection of the narcissist within as well. And when I say that, I say, think about the thoughts you think to yourself. We think, I don't know how many hundreds and thousands of thoughts a day. How many of those thoughts are positive? How many of those thoughts are beating yourself up about something? I mean, if somebody had to say some of the stuff to me that I sometimes think to myself, I'd be heartbroken. Yet I do it to myself, right? And how many of us do that to ourselves? So when we learn how to be gentler, kinder, more loving towards ourselves, be forgiving towards ourselves, right? For the little things inside of ourselves that have got nothing to do with the people around us, right? Commit to yourself. If you say you're going to start working out, then work out. If you're going to start, if you want to change the way you do things, then change it. Because all of these things are little dopamine hits that we give ourselves. Every time we do something that's in alignment with something that is good, it's a dopamine hit. And then we start becoming more loving towards ourselves. These are acts of self-love. There's a beautiful saying that says, light is easy to love. Show me your darkness. I agree. And I'm talking about the general person here, right? I'm not talking about some monster that's raping you or whatever. I'm talking about general life because that's where it begins. So begin with the little loving acts towards yourselves, and as we raise our frequency, in doing so we meet each other on a higher frequency where we come across less and less narcissists. That's the beauty of heaven being on earth. In my opinion, that's what heaven on earth is. When we coexist with anyone and everyone, but our frequency that we maintained through our own self-development is what keeps us in an elevated state. So that then we don't go into those lower vibrations and meet up with those creepsters of the night. We create a new world for ourselves. We create a new beginning, right? We create a new environment in which we thrive, and hopefully then more and more will follow.
You just did something so amazing to me. If you watch my face, I'm getting education about humanity because I don't understand humanity. I never did. I'm an anomaly. And I've been told that from the very beginning. I didn't belong in this world, they said. And so for me, what you just said, I understand now where humanity comes from. For me, what happened to me at a very young age, since I was so traumatized, so beaten, so harmed, so hurt, that I made a choice very early on that I don't want this happening to anybody else. That stuck. And so I don't, if you look inside my head when I go through the day, how can I help others? How can I be better? How can I do? It's a different world for me. In my head, it's all positive. And if there's a threat to a loved one, I'll face it down and drill it right away. But I'm a different animal than the rest of the world. And I know that. But that's why I was given that training to be this way. And it pisses people off, especially guys often. Some certain guys get so mad at me because they look at me through the glasses they have, but they don't have the capability to see who I really am. They don't. Yeah. They have this myth in the world that all men are the same way, and we're not. And that's why I wrote the screenplay too, Chanti, was to find remnant, people that are like myself, where I cannot fathom doing harm to others. I can't. I would not be able to go to bed. And it's like, I can't, I think Jan was saying, somebody was saying to Bet about rescuing spiders. Yeah, rescuing spiders and things like that. So for me, this is an ego trip. This is me, who I am, different than the rest of humanity. And I sought out to find others like me because I felt very alone in this world. And I had many people telling me, Tom, you don't belong in this world. Even my counselors, psych people would say, you don't belong in this world. You're too nice. Hurt all the time. And so my day is going through a whole day where I won't have regrets. I won't, all I'll be thinking about is how can I make somebody happy? In fact, I'll call somebody just to try to make them happy. And I'll think of somebody like, what can I do? Ex people, I'll think of like, can I send them a gift? Even people that were bad to me, can I send them a gift? That's Tom. That's me. So I don't experience what you're talking about, but I watched because now I'm learning about humanity because I didn't know people work this way. And so no wonder I couldn't connect with people like that. And as far as a relationship,
very interesting. It's very interesting as well because, you say you didn't know people, in that way. I mean, I think we're born into love. We're created from love.
I think so.
You know, love is our natural, it's our natural essence. So when we're born into a family or an environment where we're able to express love freely and openly, and I have to say, I am so grateful for what I experienced in my life, because I'm a farm girl. Religion was not indoctrinated into us at all. We did not go to church. We lived way too far out of town to go to church on a Sunday, and we had to go to school on the Monday. So there was no ways my dad was going to go on a Sunday and a Monday. We were 60 miles away from our town. And he was not prepared to drop us off at boarding school on a Sunday night. It had to be a Monday morning, right? So it was really about respect. We were taught respect, manners. We were taught to always respect our elders. Lots of respect for animals, because you grow up on the farm, and of course your animals are your food as well. So how you slaughter your animals is so important. These are the qualities, and it wasn't even something, it was just the way that life was for us. And it's such a beautiful way to be, because there is no indoctrination. We get to choose, you know, we get to choose. Do you want to be a Christian or don't you? It's up to you. That's what Christians believe. It's a Christian society. And if you want a Bible, for sure, I'll go and buy you one, you know, but you don't have to be that. You know, this is what I believe. This is where we come from. So there's that compared to the complete indoctrination that people have experienced, right? So I think, and it's very hard to say how do people reach that point when they've never experienced that, and that in itself is a big question mark, right? Because how do you experience freedom and love and trust when you've only ever experienced betrayal and deception, right, from those nearest and dearest to you? But, you know, I want to say it comes with time and taking that journey within, where you realize more and more through every shitty experience, there's been a wonderful blessing and a wonderful gift, right? And if we can just find the gift in what life has taught us. Tom, I mean, if I look at you, you've been through hell and back, right? But the gift is your compassion, your tenderness, your empathy, which is what you bring to the world. That makes you're a creative genius. I mean, you know that. So you have the ability to share your gift with others through the pain and through the turmoil that you've been through. And that is what makes for wisdom, you see. So it's really about understanding that through these experiences, we become wise. We can either, sadly, as some people choose to do, live in the wound and, you know, be the owner of that wound and woundology, as we call it, and forever expressing the wound and the pain and the suffering that goes with it and expecting empathy and sympathy from that. Or you can turn that around and see, well, this is how the wound is healed up, and this is what it's become in its healed form. And I think that is really what we need to be looking at. And it's beautiful to see that there are a lot of people like yourself that have been through that, coming out, sharing these experiences, you know, and being able to say, well, this is how we can change that, because that's what it's about. You know, it's the alchemy of the spirit.
Well, I want to
change that within.
You're amazing. You're absolutely amazing. And I know watching the chat too, people get it with you. I totally get that. And it's like, what I want to say for people that were like myself, that went through hell, right from, you know, baby up, you can instantly change to love. You can instantly change like that to, I'm going to make sure this doesn't happen to others. I'm going to give my life to helping others and loving others. When I was in a vacuum where there was no love at all. There was no love at all. None. Zero. Zip. So I decided I would be that. I would be that. I would fill that void. Not needing self-love, but creating love for others. And so that happened where I would go out. If I had a moment I was allowed out from chores, I would be connecting with animals. I'd be connecting, even looking at a blade of grass. Like I said, I would, you know, I saw that the world was sick and wasn't the way it was supposed to be. So I would be a center for caring. And that was instantaneous. It was instantaneous. And so that can happen. It doesn't have to be a long process at all. And I want people to have that kind of hope that even if and in fact, I had an advantage going through all the hell I went through as a kid. I had an advantage to have that happen. It was an easy thing where this needs to be fixed. Let's fix it. If I hadn't gone through that, then I would think it would be harder to develop that if I was born into a situation you're talking about, which I always dreamed about being on a farm. I thought it would be really cool. That was the vision I had that I thought would be cool. So your instance that you give, I think it'd be harder for me to develop into addressing the need for that love and feeling when it didn't seem to be an issue at the time. So then going through the training where I had the training where it was like all about clearing the mind, compassion, loving. Do I actually have compassion? And going through that very rigorous training. So that's where I'm at now. So what's interesting is you end up being like a mirror to people. Anybody who's like actually a narcissist, they don't want to believe you're a good guy or a good girl. They don't want to believe that. It's a threat to them somehow. I haven't figured out completely why. But when I meet people, I usually offer them the benefit of the doubt that there's a good heart here. You think of your own heart as their heart, right? That's how you usually approach people. And often I'm disappointed, so what? But the thing is, it's like you're holding up a mirror to them, where the narcissist doesn't want to believe that you exist. And they'll say that you're too good to be existing. So it's nice to be in this group right here. I'm watching the chat with Angie, right back at you. I just saw you, both amazing. It's like right back at you. It's like a group where, wow, this feels like home. It's like where people understand you and we understand each other and we get to lift each other. That's the World Tom Tuesday happy day for me. That's like, yeah, I like that.
Tom
I like
Tuesday.
that. Yeah. Well, we're
Isn't
not
it
judging each
Tom?
other. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, talking to it. We're not judging each other. We're lifting each other. That's a happy world.
Yeah.
And I couldn't go to bed at night unless everybody in my household was happy. That's me, and I know there's a lot like me out there. But it's funny. The psych world, the psych world says that's a problem. They'll go, "Oh, you got a problem." It's like, what? In fact, the one psychiatrist who actually said, gifted genius, tremendous empathy, then said, and I understand where she's coming from. She said, Tom has rose-colored glasses where he's trying to believe that everybody's good. I do believe that we're all good in our heart, in the center of our core when we enter this earth, that we actually are equipped to be what we're to evolve to, benevolent beings where we couldn't imagine anyone else hurting. I do believe that's where we're heading. And so it feels like we're in the Stone Age still, hitting each other with clubs and rocks. But we'll get there. We'll get there. But I appreciate your audience.
It's the techno age. It's the different stones and rocks.
Yeah.
But I'm just looking what Connie was saying, and I so agree with you, Connie. Need good storytelling.
Yes.
When we're looking at the ancient tribes, and I mean, Tom and I, we've been talking about that as well. I'm going to pop that up here. Because I agree with that completely. When you're looking at the first tribes of the earth, right? Really, all their information was handed down word of mouth. And the storytellers of the tribes were highly revered. I mean, they were like of the most important people because they carried on the laws, the guidances, the myths, the stories, the teachings. And I think that's really amazing. So I do believe storytelling is a very, very important thing. And I think you're a great storyteller, Tom.
Yeah.
You really are.
Well, you guys are awesome. But you know what we're missing? Why we're missing our storytelling, that wonderful storytelling element now in our days, is because the grandparents usually aren't in home anymore. When you put the grandparents, I remember the grandparents telling me the stories. They always told me the stories. And as a little kid, I always loved it. I loved hearing their stories. And so the storyteller tradition really ended for a bit when we put our grandparents away in homes. We need to bring them back in the homes. Let's do the Waltons again. Let's bring them back and we'll have our storytelling for our kids. There's nothing more beautiful, I think, besides a mother holding a baby than a grandparent telling a child a story. That's like, it's like, let's bring that back. Don't shut them away. Let's bring the storytellers back.
It makes me chuckle because my granddaughter asked me not too long ago, Granny, did you have to walk to school? Did we have cars in those days?
Well, my grandmother actually said to me that she walked through the snow a mile to school. So she did the cliche thing. Yeah. But
well, I didn't have
yeah.
to quite do that. So I had to have a good chuckle at that. I wondered where she heard that from.
Well, that's the
Anyway,
thing
so
too. You get those precious things are said back to you by the kids. So the grandparents can actually draw out these precious moments where a child will say something just amazing, you know? Like I had this thing where we were with the whole family together at one point before all this happened. And we said, let's say a prayer around the table. So I asked my young kids at the time, they were very young. And so the Kirk's there, Sean's there, Terrace is there. I said, let's all say something we're really grateful for, you know? And I love it when there's no condemning it and feel free to do it. And so I remember Kirk, right? And Kirk goes, dear God, I'm thankful that giraffes have long necks so they can reach their food. And I was like, I'm going like, first I was like, then I'm like, yeah, right, Kirk. Yeah, thanks God for that. Yeah, I love it.
It's hilarious. But you know what I'm thinking? I think that'll be really, really great because I know we've been planning to do a show with the old people.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking we should actually get some old people on the show with us. So we got to talk about that. And that we could actually hear some stories. I'm trying to think of my mother, but I don't know. I'm not sure whether my mother was telling us stories that we were in stitches. We were rolling.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember things as kids that happened in those little dodgy Karoo towns in the middle of nowhere, the parties that these people used to have. And I used to sit there with big eyes. I never missed a thing. I always had FOMO.
That's the beauty of it.
I snuck in everywhere I wasn't meant to.
It adds layers to each person. Like it's interesting when my mom and I would head out somewhere, right? My mom and I and Ada would head out somewhere. We would end up always like, you know, as empaths do, you ask people about themselves, and you find these couples didn't even know these stories about each other when they're simply asked, like, you know, basically beyond how did you meet, you know, what was your most amazing moment together? And they'll share something, and it's like, I didn't know that, honey. It's like so cool to see people reveal things to each other they didn't know, and that adds a layer to the relationship also. And so it's so much more fun being empathetic people like all of us here, where you actually get to see people experience an opening rather than talking about ourselves all the time, you know. So yeah, I'd love it. Let's get some people on to tell their stories. I think it's great. I would be in tears though the whole program if you did a thing where it was live nursing homes and having people I would be so broken up in tears. I had to be pushed mute the whole time because I would be like, wow, let's get these stories out. Yeah, I love it.
It is amazing when you hear the old people's stories and they've got stories to tell. That's for sure.
Yeah, most precious moments. Yeah.
Well, our time is pretty much up, Tom, and so I want to just say thank you so much for joining me again this evening in my neck of the woods. But I know it's morning there for you. I did want to get some updates on the whole Maui thing, but I think we will touch the base on that next week again because, and my battery is running low, and I've got load shedding. You see, timing is perfect. So we'll catch up next week again, and we'll talk more about the Maui thing. Just, you know, especially the backlash that Oprah and The Rock are getting. It's quite something else, right?
Yeah. Before you go, though, I got to look at Duke's comment there. I just glanced over and saw my grandfather would play the lottery by writing his numbers on the back of his cigar box. I love it. He never actually played it for real. That's great. I love this. See, it's so many cool things. You know, it's like, the story. Yeah. So I look forward to that. That would be a brilliant show. Sharing
these old grandpas. You know, I was standing the other day behind an old guy at the ATM, and he had skinny little legs, and you could see he'd shrunken, and he must have been probably in his 80s. And I thought to myself, wow, I wonder what you were like when you were young. You know, what stories do you have to tell? Because they really do. You know,
especially, I love when they have people from the old country. You know, like grandparents that actually were at that time where they actually immigrated, where you still have that story still going on.
Yeah.
And what this different world transition was like, and what was like in their world, their neck of the woods. You know, what was like growing up. You just learn so much.
One of my good friends, her mother is from Hungary. So her parents were literally coming, what do you call it when they ran away and they got to asylum or something?
They elope, yeah. Elope.
Yes, literally from Hungary, and they settled in South Africa. And to this day, her mom will dress up and go to shopping centers just to look, because she never ever had that. And this is the biggest luxury for her.
Oh.
So, you know, it's like those kind of people that have got those tales to tell, because that is super interesting, that story. I mean, it's obviously, I don't want to say too much. It's not my story to tell, but it really is amazing. I want to speak to old Mags and find out if she'll come chat with us.
Yes.
I'd love that.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, I'm the old person. I did walk to school in Minnesota snow. Yeah, Paul. All right. I love it. This is great. I look forward to this. This is going to be fantastic. Absolutely amazing. I love it. You know, what's also interesting is those defining moments, like you talked about eloping. I love hearing those moments where a decision was made that altered their course in history. And it just, you know, that, what was it like to make that decision? That crucial decision, that courageous decision. So I look forward to this. This is going to be fantastic. I love even the comment chat. I'm enjoying the comment chat. The chickens. Yes, yes, yes. This is awesome. I love it. Okay, thanks, Shanti. Thanks everybody for this.
Okay, guys and girls, I say thank you so much. Hang on, I must just find where I have to go here. Be patient. Be patient. Techno grandma on the loose. Oh dear, I'm on the wrong one. Oh, there. Okay. All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. And Tom, as always, we're having a blast on a Tuesday. And look forward to seeing you guys next week again. We'll be catching up with Tom. Taco Tom Tuesday. Get your tacos, get your Tuesday, get your tea, and we got Tom. I got Tom.
We'll do that.
So you must all be very nice to me.
Okay, good.
Okay, guys. Cheers. Take it easy. And again, thank you for everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.